Back to another episode of Too Rich to Miss Unscripted. You are now tuned in to the Southern Urban Voice, the hottest and the sexiest voice out here in the land of crypto. And today we have a lot of interesting information to go through and talk about today. We're obviously going to be talking about the markets. We're obviously going to be talking about this article from the Department of Justice. We'll be talking about Ethereum, and we'll be talking about Bitcoin and what Square is doing over here with that. We'll be also talking about, not this pop-up right here, we will be talking about briefly Satoshi Era BTC worth 11.3 million moved for the first time in 10 years. We'll talk about briefly Chainlink and a couple of other things that we'll go through to wrap up this episode and give you all of the information and the news that you can use. And just like the title says, buy Bitcoin. Let's get it. Welcome to Too Rich to Miss Unscripted with your host, the Southern Urban Voice, Mr. Too Rich. And this show is about providing you with cryptocurrency and digital asset news, education, and tips that you can use as you take this wild and exciting journey into crypto. And as always, remember, the only real color that matters is green. Let's get it. All right, everybody, welcome to Too Rich to Miss Unscripted. Let's go ahead on and hop right into it. As we are looking at the markets today, we are in the red. And well, we're in the red, and there's still a lot of there's some good, wonderful green that's over here going on as well. But, you know, for the most part, we're kind of in the red, which is fine. But if you've been watching my videos and you've seen it from a few days ago, we're just slightly in the red, but we are up from where we were. And we are up from where we were. And if you're looking at LINK that we'll be talking a little bit later, LINK is I think LINK is about to wake back up and start to make a comeback. But as we always know, and as we say here when you're listening to this channel, DCA is the way. Time in the market is always better than attempting to time the market. Or as I like to say it better, time in the market beats timing the market. And especially you throw in some risk management, then you'll be able to really come out fine out here in this wonderful and interesting world of crypto. But let's press on. The Department of Justice wants to bypass end-to-end encryption to fight child sexual exploitation. Calls for concern for tech. Absolutely. This is one of those things. I tweeted this out earlier on my Twitter feed, 2Rich2Miss on Twitter. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe to this video. Now, when I initially saw this and I went through and I read the article, I'll tell you what it made me think about. It made me think about 9/11. And 9/11 was really terrible, and everything, and the people that passed and that still suffer as a result of all of that is really terrible, and my heart goes out to all of those people. But now, the thing that I think about is what came out of 9/11 is what is now known as the Patriot Act. And the Patriot Act arguably can be said to be an invasion of privacy, depending on what the situation is. So we got the Patriot Act out of 9/11. Now, and once again, we can kind of go back and forth and argue about what is needed as far as surveillance and what is not needed. And of course, we could always go down the slippery slope talking about privacy and when should privacy be compromised versus when should it or should it never ever be compromised. So it's a slippery slope that we can get down, but get on with this. But here's my thought, and here's my reason for saying all of that. And the Department of Justice, it sounds to me, now granted, child sexual exploitation needs to be fought on any and every turn. But what I honestly think that what's really happening, unfortunately, is I think that the Department of Justice is looking to have a reason to go around end-to-end encryption, and they're using child sexual exploitation as their disguise. Child exploitation is the Trojan horse. And the real thing here with this, they want to get around end-to-end encryption. They don't want end-to-end encryption they want to be able to see and spy on any and everything that we do. And anytime that there's anything that we can do amongst ourselves that the government can't readily get into, it tends to be a problem. And once again, child sexual exploitation should always be combated and fought. But like I said, in this case, I honestly think this is just one of those times where the Department of Justice, they just want to be able to get around end-to-end encryption, and they want to use child sexual exploitation as the guise. Hopefully they'll honestly be fighting child sexual exploitation and not just trying to serve their own agenda. Moving on to the next article, Ethereum. Now, one of the things that I talk about on this channel when I talk about DCA and I talk about getting into simple things when I'm talking to people, one of the things I try to tell them is look at platforms. Look at, what are these coins? Do they have a purpose? What are they doing here? And Ethereum is one of the ones that I talk about as a Bitcoin alternative. It's in the altcoin space, but Ethereum dominates DeFi with 96% of transactions. Now, yes, to all of my smart people out there, yes, there is a gas fee. And yes, there are other chains that are, other blockchains that are coming around that are trying to do their thing and really step up. And yes, there is interoperability that'll be coming around and all of that. But at the end of the day, yes, I'm with you in the midst of, I understand that whole conversation. But if we're just speaking with people and just speaking to my people that are in my 36 and up crowd, my 36 to 44 crowd, and my people that are in my 44 and above crowd, we're looking at what's going to be here and what's going to be around and what's going to be having us to provide us with that value over the long term. Now, yeah, I mean, if I wanted to put on my altcoin hat and we wanted to go and talk about some things on that, of course, there are some other projects that are doing some really cool things. I mean, I invest in Cardano. I own some Cardano, so I definitely want Cardano to do well. Do I think that anybody will ever, quote unquote, kill Ethereum? I honestly doubt it, just in my own personal opinion. I don't know, obviously. But just looking at how interwoven it is into everything and what's happening with it, and then once this layer 2 thing finally comes up and it does something about these gas fees, oh my God, it's on again. And actually, honestly, it never stopped because the market is still a baby, as I always like to say. and we are just seeing the beginnings of all of this. I like to kind of remind people that what you're seeing here with the whole cryptocurrency space, this is like if you're seeing a neighborhood. First, when you ride by, it's just a forest with trees. A little bit later, you ride by, the trees are gone. A little bit later, you ride by, you start to see the workings of the road being developed. A little bit later, as time goes on, you can start to see streets get carved out and little land block. You understand where I'm coming from? And where we at with this whole cryptocurrency space, if you look at it objectively and kind of put your, and don't get caught up in all of this other nonsense that I'm just not going to go into because it's not related to crypto. But if you really step outside of and look at what's really going on all around you, it's not hard to tell that that things are moving over into digital. I mean, that things are growing, and if you look around and you look at the space as a whole, then it won't be hard to tell that you can kind of look and be able to see, okay, you can see where crypto is building the roads of finance and really coming to take the web from where it is now up to a whole nother level, with the only exception that it'll be so much decentralization within it that it honestly scares the current powers that be, or as I like to call it, the 2%, because they're not going to just give up control too easily. So I make these videos and I talk about Ethereum and the market itself and the market as a whole, because what I'm looking at right now, this is the ground being broken, this is the roads being put in, this is the land being prepared for what's to come. Most people aren't paying attention to an area being developed and built up to be houses or apartments or townhomes or whatever it may be until the structure of the buildings actually start to come up and you start to see the shell of everything come together. We're looking right now, and this is just the foundations of things that's being laid right now. So when I say Bitcoin and Ethereum and Chainlink and some of these other ones and Polkadot and some of these other things and Aave, when I'm looking at some coins that and Cardano and things that I hold and that I'm looking at things that I feel are going to be around. I mean, Bitcoin is going to be here, but I'm looking at some other things as well. But I said all of that to say, you have to look at this market as it isn't all the way there just yet. And just like in my analogy for us older people, this is for my 44 and up crowd. We remember what the internet was like before we got to be at this point right here. And speaking of, where we are right now, and another reason I talk about this at this particular point, there's I'm not the only one that's over here talking about this. We're looking at institutional money that's coming over, and it's just a fact. There's people, of course, I've already talked about the grayscale, and I've even touched on this in another video as well, but I'm leaving it up there for a reason. Let's look at that title. Square stocks soar after Bitcoin purchase. Market bulls convinced PayPal will make a BTC move of its own. Now, I'm going to step out there and just say I think PayPal has already made their BTC move. We just don't know it. And I think there's a ton of companies out here, big corporations, that are made over-the-counter BTC moves, and we just don't know about it because they took a page out of MicroStrategy's book and they bought it in such a way that they bought it over the counter so that it didn't push the price up. So hey, I think there's a lot of that going on. But I said all of that to say this just kind of goes in to reiterate what I'm talking about in today's news, which is really today's theme, is essentially, I mean, the time to buy low is now. We're at the low part. We haven't got to the high part just yet. We're at the low part. And all of this stuff just kind of confirms that it's something going on over there. The rest of us just haven't caught on just yet. And even this even goes into that. Even more to reiterate, a Satoshi Era BTC. Now, what is Satoshi Era BTC? Satoshi Era BTC is a part of the initial Bitcoin that was minted from the Genesis block back when all of this initially happened. And if you're looking at the headline here, this has been moved for the first time in 10 years. And when you read down further in the article, it's been moved to an unknown wallet. There's things going on here, and we're talking about 1,000 Bitcoin. So, and I mean, hey, it just lets you know that there's something going on out here in this market in a good way. And and even with this being moved, I mean, it wasn't moved. It doesn't say that it was moved to an exchange. It was just moved from one wallet, pretty much to another wallet. I don't think these are going to be dumped on the market or anything like that. I mean, and even if they did, the way we are with the stage that we're at right now, anything that's getting dumped on the market is getting scooped up. I think we're honestly going to get to a time by the time the retail investor really starts to crowd into this market, I think a lot of this Bitcoin is going to be sucked up and already snatched up. But you never know. And of course, our final story for the day. Let's talk about Chainlink here briefly. Chainlink is one of those projects. If you just sit here and if you just take the time to DYOR on Chainlink is interwoven. It's an oracle, and it's interwoven into a lot of good partnerships. And there's some great stuff going on with Chainlink. And I mean, and the price is starting to move back up. I mean, yes, I know. All of my highly intelligent people out there that are listening to me, I understand that, yes, it dropped almost 50%. It did drop 50% from its almost $20 high that it was at. I know. But now we're starting to move back in the right direction. And honestly, Chainlink is one of these projects that I have a lot that I'm long term. I mean, I think that Chainlink is going to be around, and it's an oracle. We got to have data, safe, secure data. So I definitely think Chainlink is going to be around. It's one of these ones that I encourage you to do your own research on, and make and DCA accordingly. There's a lot of wonderful things going on out here. There's a lot of noise that's happening out here as well. I want to make sure that all of you guys that are listening to me understand that DCA is the way. Investigate, do your own research, find what's going on, and look and do what's best for you. There's a lot of opportunity over here in this cryptocurrency space. And just depends on which way you want to go about it and go get it. So this is all we got for you today. We are looking at one final look at the markets as we head out. Everything is, we're still in the red right now. Nothing major happening. We got some of the altcoins over here in the green coming back. But still mostly the market is a lot of red. It's pretty much a sideways day today. So DCA is the way. And always remember, the only real color that matters is green.